doors closing floor by floor. The lamps went pale above, and hat boxes beside the glass leaned softly into love. You stood inside the elevator with buttons at your hand. The brass gate folded bright and thin. The mirror tall and bland. A lady called for millinery. A clerk came down with lace. A child pressed every numbered light and hid his guilty face. Then he arrived with violets, his overcoat half done, and asked for floor 11, as if there were only one. The bell had rung for closing time. The door should have been drawn. You held the gate a moment more and let him hurry on. Hold the gate at 5. Let the brass stay wide. Let someone carrying flowers keep his errand safe inside. Hold the gate at 5. A courtesy no more, yet all my heart stood waiting on the wrong side of the floor. The car rose past the dresses, past gloves and evening shoes. The mirror took his violets twice and gave them back in blue. You asked if he was nearly late. He smiled and said, a little. The elevator trembled up between the floors of metal. I had no reason riding there, no purchase left to claim. My parcel held a necktie pin, my ticket bore no name. But when you reached to stop the lift and turn the handle slow, I saw how lightly one small hand can help another go. He thanked you with his hat in hand, then stepped into the hall. You watched the violets disappear and did not watch me at all. Hold the gate at 5. Let the old ropes rise. Let another man's bright flowers reach another pair of eyes. Hold the gate at 5. No promise, touch or sign, only your hand making room for a kindness that was not mine. It was not envy, I would say, to buttons, brass and light. Not envy of a flower bunch sent somewhere out of sight, but certain little mercies can uncover what we hide. The gate held open gently for the one who gets to ride. Hold the gate at folding chairs are set in rows, the soup is keeping warm, and under stairs the basement pipes begin their little storm. You stand beside the kitchen shelf with steam along your sleeve, a pencil tucked behind your ear, too busy to believe. The enamel pans are cooling down, the ladles hang in pairs. A stack of plates waits near the door for whoever takes the stairs. You taste the broth and lower salt, then stir it once again, as if the whole cold neighborhood were coming in from rain. The boys bring chairs from Sunday school, the old men move them back. A woman folds the tablecloth along its printed crack. You open up the recipe box and find the card you need, written small in someone's hand for cabbage, cream and seed. You read the corner where it fades, then smile and close your eyes, and set the card back where it lives among the cakes and pies. The card in the recipe box, soft at the edge from years of hands, told more than any silver dish of what a room understands. The card in the recipe box, not merely how much flour to take, but how to feed a winter hour and leave no one awake to ache. No one will praise the pencil mark, the thumbprint near the name, the little cross beside the word that says to lower flame. Yet every supper has a past that stands behind the steam. Somebody's measure, somebody's care, still entering the dream. Card in the recipe box, placed back between the bread and stew, held all the quiet hands before that somehow worked through you. The card in the recipe box, plain as paper, worn and small, yet when you closed the wooden lid, it seemed to bless us all. The supper bell is rung upstairs, the basement fills with feet, and in the box the old card rests, still warm from being read. The town had shut its porches down. The courthouse gave one chime, and in the little exchange room, the cords hung still as twine. She sat before the switchboard wall, with cotton at her wrist, a pencil by the message pad, her coffee gone to mist. The moths kept tapping at the shade, the fan turned slow and wide, and every sleeping house outside had wires at at its side. Then one red lamp began to wink above the doctor's name. She lifted up the answering chord before the second flame. A woman's voice came thin with fear from 4 miles past the mill, and all the room around the board grew suddenly more still. Hold the line, hold the line. Nothing more than waiting there between one voice and time. Hold the line, small duty plain and true. Yet in her hands the darkened town had one way through. The doctor's bell rang twice, then 3, then stopped beneath the floor. She tried his sister's boarding room, then tried the back drugstore. No panic crossed her steady face, no word was spent too fast. She only looped the cloth-bound cord and made the silence last. The farmhouse breathed against her ear. A child coughed once, then cried. She said, "He's coming, keep the lamp," and set the jack beside. Outside the gravel road lay black. The moon was nearly gone, but still she kept that little light from being left alone. No one would see the way she sat with one hand near the board, or how a common copper thread could carry mercy toward. Some rooms are small enough to miss, some work leaves little sign, but life may hang for half a breath on who will hold the line. Hold the line, hold the line, till wheels are heard beyond the bridge, till fear has crossed its time. Hold the line, not bell nor hymn nor flame, only a woman keeping still beside a blinking name. At dawn the doctor called her back. The child had found his sleep. She wrote one note, then cleared the cord and let the morning keep. The picture led us out at 10 in Faces, woolen light. The usher drew the velvet rope, the lobby lost its bright. A paper cup went skimming by, one poster curled at edge. You held my elbow down the steps as if it were a pledge. We spoke of nothing much at all, the actress and the snow, the tune that followed through the end, how slowly credits go. I might have thought the whole thing done the minute we said goodnight, but later with my glove half on I found one little sign, a torn red ticket, warm and thin, the stub in my glove. You must have slipped it in just then, when helping with my coat, between the kid skin and my wrist, without a word or note. The street had nearly emptied out, the chemist's lamp burned green, and all at once the common block turned tender as the screen. No vow, no backward rush of feet, no last-minute confessing, only that quiet, clever thing, more intimate for less being. As if you could not say, stay near, or this meant something to me, so gave me half the evening still to keep in secrecy. I stood beneath the dying bulbs, too late for pride, too soon, with that small scrap against my palm, like paper holding moon. And ever since, when nights let out and laughter leaves the groove, I think how much one hand can hide the stub in my glove. At home I laid it in the drawer with buttons, pins and thread, and once or twice I touched it there before I went to bed.
The dining room was nearly clear, the toast rack wearing crumbs, and somewhere past the pantry door the kettle talked in hums. You stood beside the dumbwaiter shelf with tea upon your sleeve, the oilcloth menus curling up as if they meant to leave. A tourist asked for marmalade, a child upset his spoon, and June came through the seaside glass with salt around the noon. Old Captain Bell sat farthest back, his paper opened wide. He read the shipping column twice and kept the world outside. The breakfast gong had sounded once, then faded down the stair. He never raised his silver head, he simply stayed in air. You looked across the thinning plates, then touched the little brass. Not sharply, not impatiently, but clear enough to pass. One ring went through the sugar bowls, one followed soft and near. He folded down the paper then, as if the room came clear. You brought his egg still warm in shell, his cup turned to the right, and set the toast where his old hand could find it by the light. He said, I heard you miss and smile, without a trace of plea. You only checked the cream was full, and let the answer be. Some kindness knows the distance between a sound and shame. It does not call a weakness out or give the hurt a name. It simply rings the morning twice where once would not be fair, and makes a place at table for someone almost there. Ring the bell twice, let the second silver fall. Let no one miss the hour for not hearing it at all. Ring the bell twice, of sound, and all the room grew gentler for the way you turned it round. Ring the bell twice, not loud and not too late, just enough to bring him in before they cleared his plate. Ring the bell twice, slain brass beneath your hand, yet breakfast seemed more merciful than anyone had planned. By noon the cloths were shaken out, the gulls crossed wide and small, and in that quiet dining room 2 bright notes held it all.
The window kept the city warm, the curtain rose and fell. One yellow bar from out the hall lay on the floorboard still. You'd come in tired and half undressed, and fallen fast asleep. One wrist across your forehead there, as if the day ran deep. The room was small as rented things are small in August heat. A picture chair, 2 traveling cases, and 1 soft pair of feet. So I rolled the bath towel tight and laid it to the floor, to keep the draft, the light, the talk from reaching anymore. I made a little shore of cloth against the world outside, the towel under the door. Somebody laughed beyond the stairs. A tap kept dripping thin. A woman's heel went past our room, then nothing else came in. You never stirred except to turn and find me in your sleep. Your hand came searching once for mine, and settled there to keep. No vow was spoken in that heat, no moon made silver news, only a plain white hotel towel and one thing I could do for love when it has had no ease and money's running poor. We'll make a kingdom out of less than most are looking for. So I rolled the bath towel tight and laid it to the seam, and all the hallway with its lamp stopped just outside our dream. The room stayed small, the bed stayed hard, the night stayed hot and sure. Still I have loved few things as much as the towel under the door. By morning it was only cloth beside a scuffed up frame, but all night long it held the dark and let us be the same.
Twilight had left the window glass. The cobblestones were bright. A little bell gave one soft sigh and crossed into the night.
The velvet kept the carriage warm. The brass rail held its gleam. My silhouette beside the pane looked thinner than a dream.
We crossed the bridge above the cave, where starlight touched the black,
and every little silver chime seemed like a calling back,
till the bell went faint. The whole dark city seemed to sway and pull old afternoons my way, till the bell went faint. One woman left with parcel string,
one wan man with coat and cane.
Their footsteps found the cobblestones,
then vanished into rain.
I should have kept my hat in hand
and let the car move through,
yet every stop the bell grew small
and sounded more like you.
The window kept one thread of star.
The wires gave back a sigh.
A little hush of reverie
rode softly passing by.
No serenade came through the street,
no voice spoke out my name,
only the rays beneath the floor,
and all the night the same.
And yet I think some partings live,
not in the heart alone,
but in the way one silver note
can make a city known.
Till the bell went faint, the whole dark city seemed to sway and pull old afternoons my way, till the bell went faint. The final corner took the car. The lamps grew pale and few. Still one last ringing crossed the bridge and traveled on with you. The pain kept one small star. A hush from tired twilight stayed about the things that are. My brushes waited in their jar, like guests who knew the hour. The floorboards held the last of night. The curtain bent and bowed. Below, a magnolia moved so lightly in the air. Its fragrance climbed the narrow stair, as if to find me there. Then on the glass my silhouette grew pale and fine and mild, as though the morning entering had asked to be let in. What the morning kept was not the star nor fading blue, but all the hush that led to you. What the morning kept. No footstep climbed the attic stair, no voice disturbed the room, yet every jar and silver tray seemed listening in the gloom. A teardrop gathered on the brush, then trembled into gleam. Not sorrow fit for any name, but sorrow near a dream. Outside the roofs were pearl and smoke. Inside the canvas bare began to hold a little more than emptiness and air. No serenade came up the stair, no radiant summons shone. But when the first faint gold appeared, I felt less left alone. For some things do not come as joy, nor leave as sorrows do. They only lay a tender hand upon the heart, then move. What the morning kept was not the star nor fading blue, but all the hush that led to you. What the morning kept. The star went out upon the pane, the blue began to yield. I set one quiet color down, as though a vow were sealed. And long after the room grew bright and common day had stepped, something in me stayed listening still to what the morning kept.
The rails are wet with light. The bell is soft and frail, a little ribbon of rain runs silver by the rail. The cobblestones below give back a broken gleam. My silhouette appears and wanders through the stream. Rain along the rails, the city sways and sighs, with twilight in its eyes. Rain along the rails. One lady folds her gloves, then leaves without a sound. Her footsteps fade in mist before the next turn round. The window breathes with rain, the lamps grow pale and thin, a hush of reverie comes traveling softly in. No grand serenade follows, no voice calls out my name, just starlight on the glass and weather without blame. Rain along the rails, the city sways and sighs, with twilight in its eyes. Rain along the rails. The final corner turns, the night grows deep and mild, still rain upon the line moves with me like a child. The ushers dim the aisle lights down, the organ tried a chord, and in the booth above the crowd, the second reel was stored. You stood beside the rewinder there, with film across your hand, a little lamp, a silver can, the picture yet unplanned. The children rustled paper bags, their mothers settled hats. A newsreel drum began below, with horses, flags and maps. The
when one bright strip went loose and thin, a torn frame near the side. You caught it before the wheel could pull the afternoon too wide. You trimmed the edge with careful shears, then brushed the dust away, and laid the broken inches flat where all the shadows lay. The cement smelled of orange peel, the sprocket holes shone small, and when your thumb held down the seam, the booth forgot us all. I had come up to ask the time, or so I told myself. My ticket stub was folded twice and warming on the shelf. You did not turn, but softly said, "Hold still until it dries." And all the moving world below was waiting for your eyes.
One clear splice, one clear splice.
Nothing anyone would see when
Faces filled the light. One clear splice.
Yet when the reel ran through, a broken moment crossed the screen, as if it always knew. I think of how the crowd below would never guess the place where one small tear was made to pass without a jump or trace. Some care is not a grand repair, not gold, not speech, not art. It simply joins what nearly failed and lets the story start.
One clear splice, one clear splice.
Held between your patient hands before the matinee light.
One clear splice.
I saw it then and knew a life may keep its picture whole because of hands like you. The projector caught, the reel went round, the room below grew bright, and through that little mended place, the lovers crossed in white.
The ropes were loosed without a fuss. The bell gave one small sound. The water took the ferry side and pulled the shoreline round. The river wore a pewter sheen. The gulls kept to the stern. Your hat was pinned against the wind, your collar softly turned. The bench along the outer rail still held the morning through. I saw you pause before you sat and knew what I must do. I spread the market pages down across the painted slats. The grocer's ad, the racing odds, the weather, this and that. So nothing cold should find its way through wool and age and sense.
the paper on the bench. You sat and spoke of common things, the butcher and his knee, your sister's letter from the coast, the pears still on the tree. The ferry cut the river wide in slow and patient halves, and every little thing you said made homely all the draft. No vow was ever needed there above the diesel hum. No rose, no grand demonstrative word, no drum for what we've done. For love, when it has had its years, grows practical and quick. It sees the damp before you do, and minds it with a flick. I spread the market pages down before you even knew, and all the newsprint in the world turned warm by sheltering you. At landing, when you rose again, the wet had left no trace, only the faint shape where you'd been, and one dry tended place. The paper on the bench, I folded it beneath my arm when all the crossing passed. One headline blurred, one corner torn by a river wind at last. And somehow that poor common sheet was finer than it sounds, for all the day it seemed to keep the shape of where you'd lean down.
Evening settled on the frames. One lamp rehearsed its gold. The phonograph with patient grace unpinned the early cold. You did not ask me for the dance, you only crossed the room and smoothed the crease upon my sleeve, as if to mend the gloom. The velvet curtains held the rain, the hearth kept back the blue, and every little thing we owned fell hushed to look at you. Then your dear shoulder brushed my own so lightly, almost shy, and all the loud and foolish years went quiet by and by. When the room grew gold,
The dark released its claim, and even time turned kind again. When the room grew gold, the teacups had gone pale with steam. The embers breathed in red. You smiled the way you once had smiled, before a word was said. No miracle had entered there, no splendor asked to be, unless one counts the homely grace of your still knowing me. Outside the rain ran dark and thin, and silvered down the glass. Inside, one small obedient waltz made all the old hours pass. No serenade came down the stair, no bright bouquet was thrown. But when you laid your cheek to mine, I knew I had come home. When the room grew gold, the dark released its claim, and even time turned kind again. When the room grew gold, the record thinned to dust and hush. The fire withdrew to rose. Still starlight lay across the rug in little afterglows. And long after the lamp burned small, and long after the weather rolled, my heart kept one last measure there. When the room grew gold.
The banquet hall was not yet bright, the chairs still wore their cloth, and in the florist room behind, the ferns lay cool and soft. You stood beside the marble sink with water on your sleeve, a ribbon curled beside the shears, too light to quite believe. The white boxes were marked in rows, the orchids laid in twos. A bellboy came for roses once, then vanished with his shoes. And I, with no appointment there, stayed near the open door to watch you lift a purple bloom as if it weighed much more. The gentleman from table 9 came early, coat in hand, his cufflinks bright, his manner smooth, his smile too well planned. You chose the pin from off the tray, then held the lapel still, just close enough to work the stem against the twill. He thanked you with a little bow, you only turned away, then checked the ribbon on the box for Mrs. Calder's spray. I said I came to ask the time, though clocks were everywhere, and felt the room grow smaller round that orchid in the air. The pin in the corsage, silver through the green, held one flower near his heart, where mine had never been. The pin in the corsage, I watched your fingers stay, and wondered why a careful touch could take my words away. It was not jealousy, I thought, only June behind a wall, only polished hotel doors, only footsteps in the hall. Yet some small ache will find its proof in what the eye has seen, a flower fastened for another man, and no place left between. The pin in the corsage, hidden sharp and slight, kept the orchid standing proud beneath the banquet light. The pin in the corsage, no promise, no embrace, only your hand making beauty hold on someone else's place. The door swung wide, the music rose, the white boxes grew few, and on the tray one silver pin lay waiting, bright and blue. Twilight thinned on window glass, the cobblestone shone blue. A little bell gave one soft sigh and pulled the dark streets through. The velvet kept the carriage warm, the brass rail held its gleam. My silhouette beside the pane looked lighter than a dream. One woman left with parcel string, one man with coat and cane. Their footsteps faded from the stones and would not come again. Where the last lamp fell, the whole old corner came in sight, then slipped once more into the night. Where the last lamp fell, we passed the baker's shuttered door, the florist dark and still. A thread of starlight touched the roofs above the climbing hill. I did not mean to lift my head or let the blue streets call, yet something in that thinning light remembered me at all. The window kept a little star. The wires gave back a sigh. A hush of reverie rode near, then drifted slowly by. No serenade came through the square. No voice spoke out my name. Only the bell, the rails, the dark, the city just the same. And yet I think some evenings hold a tenderness too well, the way a whole lost world returns, where one last lamp once fell. Where the last lamp fell, the whole old corner came in sight, then slipped once more into the night. Where the last lamp fell. The tram moved on through sleeping blocks. The lamps grew faint and small. Still one last patch of silver stayed, where night had touched the wall.